Okay, let's get our little crappie slash river smallmouth jig tied up here. We're going to be going with a red thread today. This is by Do It. I like using it on my minnow type jigs. One reason, it just, gives it that wounded look, or, also imitates the gills. But I've always liked using red. We're going to run right back to the bend of the hook with our thread here, about halfway back up on it to about to the shank here. Now next we're going to be adding a hackle feather. This is an olive type one. This is going to be the tail for the jig, and I like for this to come back about 1.5 inches to about 2 inches off the back of that jig. So give him a measurement here. Okay, we remove some of the feathers there, exposing that stem. We're going to lay it right up on top of the jig here, kind of push down. First thing you want to do is give him a couple loose wraps and then start tightening him up, going down the stem of that hackle feather. That kind of keeps it from rolling over when you do it like that. Starting out with loose wraps. Then we're just going to lock him in. Back to the back of the jig head here. Now the next thing we want to add is I'm going to hit it with a little bit of UV resin. And all this is going to do is just secure it back there. If you don't have UV resin, you can go with like a crazy glue, works just as fine. Now the first thing we want to add is the back of the minnow. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use off of our chartreuse bucktail. I love using the back of this. When they dye the tail, it kind of turns that brown hair kind of like an olive like brown, and it is excellent for the backs of like minnow type jigs, or minnow jigs as I call them. And it takes very little, just a pinch of it will do the job. About right there is what you're wanting. We're going to lay him right on top here, clean some of that front part of him off, bump it right up against the back of that jig head. Give him a few turns here. Don't lock it down too tight because we're going to spin this. Get some of that loose off of it there. We're going to push forward and kind of just spin this around the shank of that hook. As you push forward, that's going to keep it in that collar, keep it locked in. You don't have to worry about it pulling out. Kind of bring it around the bend of the hook there where we can get it all pretty much straightened out there. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to go ahead and just get him locked in. Now the next thing we're going to be adding is some crystal flash here, a couple strands of it. Okay, we're going to loosen our vise up here, and we're going to take a couple pieces of this crystal flash, and then as we put our bucktail on, we're going to add it and just layer it up as we do our bucktail. Now we're going to trim this off back about right where that hair ends. Roll it over to the other side. Now the next thing we want to add is a little black to it for that black streak running down. This is the one I'm imitating here, is kind of like a creek chub that we got native around here in our creeks. Out right there. We're going to lay this right on top. Measure twice to make sure we got him right. And then just lock him in. There we go. Now the next thing we want to add is a couple more pieces of this crystal flash. Last but not least, just a little bit of white here for the belly. I about got this one spin up here, but still got enough to make a few more jigs with it. Very little again, just another small pinch. And just add him right to the jig here. There we go. It looks pretty good. Now we're just going to go ahead and build this collar up. Now, next thing is we're going to go ahead and get this whip finish. 7 turns. Get him seated in good. And then we're going to add our UV resin. Hit it with a light. Let's check him out in the water.